Namaste, Jai Bharat. Although not many people might be paying attention, there are quite a few things those happen in this world. Call it as geopolitics, or possibly emerging a different world order. Nonetheless, we saw that the NATO saying something about nations buying oil from Russia. Then the European Union comes and repeats. Of course, we all understand that the fulcrum of all this discussion belongs to one center, which of course is deeply connected with the deep state. This goes to the extent of threatening. And I was talking earlier that this is actually multi-standard, not just double standard. This is for you, this is for you. There is no justification, there is no rationalization. It is simple bullying, saying that we think so, so you listen to us. This used to happen at times, but then now I don't think it's quite easy for them to get things done by others, because others are fed up rather with this kind of policing. You can't keep Europe as the center of the world, though they themselves have been speaking of world, as they themselves are the world, which is really not the case. Which they should understand. It's better if they understand earlier, or they'll have to endure suffering from others. When it comes only, they'll realize how serious and desperate situations can be in Europe. They won't realize, they don't realize, they'll continue doing so. There's a possibility of things changing. Now, Bharat is not in a position where they will go and listen to them unconditionally. We've already very clearly said that speak on equal terms and deal with mutual respect, which they don't understand. And of course, let's see how things go on. They to the extent of sanctioning, then to the extent of speaking of sanctioning the BRICS countries, and to the extent, of course, of sanctioning anyone who buys anything from Russia. It's our prerogative to buy or sell things to others. Then, of course, we initially, Bharatas, right in the beginning, stopped selling things. If you don't want to buy from us, we are not selling. But this would change the world order, possibly change the world order tomorrow. They are isolating themselves more and more from the rest of the world through this kind of terms, through this kind of behavior. Others are capable of looking for alternatives. If you don't buy from us, we don't sell. That's it. We have our share of suffering, but you too shall have your share of suffering. But our structure is better. We will look for alternatives, and you may not be able to look for such alternatives, and you already have problems of oil. Now, they have targeted Naira. They have targeted Naira oil from Bharat. They're a big company buying crude oils from Russia, refining and selling to Europe. You have this oil, this petrol, and then we don't give it, means you will have your problems. But this Europe, which says that they want to boycott Russia, they have not boycotted Russia from buying oil. They have only reduced their buying. They can't leave. The gas they have to buy, or petroleum they have to buy. They have only reduced, but then still being very boisterous. And therefore, this is a situation of a very unfortunate situation. China is a mighty country. China is a rich country, and China is a organized country in the communist terms, and industrial country in the capitalist terms. And this kind of combination is deadly for others. They can do anything. They can grow, they can act, they can do anything, because the nation is under control. Their structure is strong. The communist structure they are using and the capitalist economy they are following. They made this deadly combination, which of course is not good. That's a different case. Theoretically anachronistic. That also is correct, but practically, for the time being, they will win. And the people of China revolting against the domination of communist parties is not in the near vicinity. So you can't expect China to collapse. Actually, they'll make others collapse. That's the situation. So you are playing with China and already sanctions Russia. So look at this funny situation. You started a war with Russia and you started supporting Ukraine. Now you started a war in the sense you initiated a war with Russia through Ukraine, and they wanted to destroy it. And Russia wouldn't give up. There's no way I see that they give up. But another interesting point is that the Europe and others, those of whosoever is, all good friends of Bharat, are actually very jealous of Bharat. Bharat is changing. Bharat's economy is becoming strong. Bharat's army, you never expected, no one has ever expected the strength and effectivity of Bharati forces. This army, Navy, Air Force, Navy are not seen because Navy remain the witch, and of course the Air Force. And the weapon systems, many of them we have not anticipated. The accuracy, sharpness and swiftness and the speed, agility, these things you have not anticipated because you underestimated the ability of Bharat. And we are not speaking, we are not talkers like you, like the Lahoris. We are not boisterous. We don't speak that we did this or we shall do this, we shall do that. And even after doing it, we never said that we did this, we did that. That's fine. Actually, we have destroyed Pakistan in 4 days of Operation Sindoor. Destroyed beyond what anyone could imagine. But then we did not make a show of it. We achieved a purpose, and that's the end of it. So, this European Union, others, whosoever is so-called bigger players, who consider themselves as bigger players, to what extent they are really bigger players is for you to see and understand. Saying is one thing, and being is another thing. So they think Bharat is a threat. So many of these sanctions, or say I call it this operations, many of this operation process they really don't become operations to us so long as we resist. So these operatives from the West, many of them are indirectly or directly directed to Bharat. Simple, they started thinking that Bharat shall emerge powerful. Bharat is already sufficiently powerful. And why do they fear Bharat? They think that the people, the Bharat nation, is like the European nations or others, the Western nations. Because the moment they are powerful, they will start grabbing others' property. They will start bossing. They will start poking your nose into the affairs of others. This is what they had been doing, and that's the history. They think Bharat will behave like that. That's only because they have not understood Bharat. It's not that we can't, but we don't care. We don't care, we don't intervene with the matter of fact affairs. It's only when your people want spiritual redemption, you come to Bharat, and of course we provide. Other than that, seekers, of course, will be helped. That, of course, had been in our tradition and culture. That we do. But we don't bother. We don't poke our noses into your affairs, and we don't dictate terms and conditions to do this, do that, do this. This has to be the case. You talk like this to someone else, you talk like this to someone else. These things we don't do. We never had been doing it, but you had been doing it, so you naturally think that Bharat also would do the similar things. That's your mistake, not our mistake. So you feel threatened. That's again your mistake, not our mistake. So you start doing all operatives of this nature, and of course, you face it, and we are facing it. Let's see who faces better. These two nations, Russia and Israel, are close to us for historical reasons. We know that Russia in 1600s had difficulties. Many Russians came to Bharat, took refuge. We accepted them. Not just accepted them, respected them. We give respect. Then of course if we don't get respect back, that becomes inappropriate. So the Russians have that historical connection with us. When they were in trouble, we physically helped them by providing them accommodation and shelter in Bharat. And Israel, the Jews, when the whole world, including Europe, it was mostly in Europe, not others, when everyone, all the Europeans were persecuting the Jews, being after them, trying their best to get rid of the Jews from the surface of earth. Europeans did it mostly. The place where they found home is Bharat. We had no problem. We were comfortable. They were more comfortable with us. So you don't think that these people will forget it, because unlike you, they don't have ingratitude in them. I don't know, we have not done any great things to Europe, but then gratitude, I don't think that it's found very much in such a nation. So you continue making this kind of offensive statements of imposing sanctions, this thing, that thing, and sometimes story of tariffs. All right, you go on. Let's see how far you can reach, and let's see how can we withstand. Still being polite, to what extent we can withstand. I'm talking about withstand. I'm not talking about retaliation. If retaliation comes, I don't know how it comes. But then, when it is required, we are capable of doing that. I don't know whether such situation shall take place or not. So we shall meet again. Jai Bharat, Jai Siya Ram.